What's good, y'all? It's your boy HB with Final Round and Drive Time Boxing. I want to talk about the upcoming matchup with Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. Man, the fight game is popping off right now. I mean, we got, McGregor and Poirier coming up soon. We just had Devin Haney and Jorge Linares put on an excellent show, which I want to talk about in a different video. Canelo fought Billy Joe Saunders recently. We got Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather this weekend. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of exciting matchups and fights. So I'm geeked up, man. But let's talk about the breaking news. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley, man. I'm looking forward to this. This is a very intriguing matchup. Whoever is setting up these matches in Jake Paul's corner, they're doing a hell of a job, man. They're doing a hell of a job because this is a nice next step up to see if Jake Paul can really continue his boxing career, because it seems like him and his brother are really taking this shit seriously and they want to kind of build up. People hating on him for not fighting a pure boxer yet. I don't get it. Look, he's fresh out the game, man. He's fresh out the game. He's just starting. He doesn't need to take on top tier boxers or even low level boxers yet, or up and coming low level fighters or guys working up the ranks. He doesn't need to do that yet. He's still a baby in the game, and he's trying to make money, and perfect matchmaking by his team. I think this is a nice test, but as this is the scary thing for Jake Paul, like, he may want to continue this shit, right? And I'm sure even if he loses, there are some interesting matchups like KSI, right? That would be if he loses this one, that would be a nice matchup for Jake Paul, or maybe another YouTuber or something like that, or a celebrity star. So I don't think it'll be quite over, but I don't think he'll be seeking, if Jake Paul finds a way to, or if Jake Paul loses this fight, he's going to have to stay more in the realm of celebrity boxing, or, fighting guys who aren't pure boxers. But if he does win, he needs to kind of slowly build up. He doesn't need to rush it. He doesn't need to take on a pure boxer, and just keep making money, keep putting on shows, and take your time. And if you really want to contend one day at a high level, look, put in the time and the effort, work your way up the ranks and get there. No need to rush this guy. This is boxing. That's how you do. If you want to, kind of build a resume and a career, you take your time. You don't need to jump into the deep end and rush it. So I don't got no problem with this. And it's just funny how people are jumping ship back and forth. At first, Jake Paul's not a real fighter. And then he beats Ben Askren. And then, Jake Paul's a real fighter. He needs to fight a real boxer, though. And now everybody's thinking Jake Paul has the advantage against Tyron Woodley because Tyron Woodley's not a pure boxer. And, I was at the forefront saying that Jake Paul was going to beat Ben Askren, even though Ben Askren was this professional MMA fighter with lots of experience. From what I saw from Ben Askren, in his terms of his boxing and his technique, I didn't see anything he had to offer to defeat Jake Paul. And I knew Jake Paul was going to win. I knew he was going to knock him out, because Ben Askren was literally bringing no boxing ability, technique to the table. Wasn't even bringing athleticism to help him compensate for what he lacked. But people are kind of, now they're jumping over to Jake Paul's side, saying that, Jake Paul can beat, obviously he's going to beat an MMA fighter, any MMA fighter. He has the advantage and he's going to win this fight. And now I have to go to the opposite side and kind of balance it out and warn people, this is not the same fucking fight as Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. It's not. It's a completely different ball game. First off, T. Wood's been training boxing technique throughout his MMA career, unlike Ben Askren. Second of all, Tyron Woodley is a hell of an athlete. Might even say gifted. Okay, but I mean, he probably is a very gifted athlete. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen Tyron Woodley in different realms of sports, but he seems like a pretty damn athletic dude. And the only thing I've seen of him in terms of his boxing was him hitting the mitts, and he looked very good. Now, obviously, hitting the mitts is not gonna, I'm not gonna sit there and say that you're a great boxer because you look good on the mitts. But that's not the point, right? When I'm watching, I'm just watching, does this guy have some sort of technique? Because if he has some sort, shape, or form of good technique, then he may be able to pick up learning the sport of boxing quick. On top of that, he's a really good athlete, and he is somewhat of a lot competent, more competent than Ben Askren in terms of his striking. We all seen Tyron Woodley in his prime. He was knocking motherfuckers out. He could put people to sleep with one punch. Now, obviously, is that going to translate to boxing gloves and the technique required? We'll see. But look, I can't put a strong favor on any of these guys because I have no idea what Tyron Woodley can do in the boxing ring. I would need to see him spar. Once I see him spar, put some work in it and sparring, I can come up with a good prediction for this fight. But I will go out on a limb, and I'm actually going to favor Tyron Woodley for this fight. Even though he is an MMA fighter, like I said, Tyron Woodley, I think he's went to Mayweather's gym multiple times. He's trained in boxing, not trained like strictly, but he's, preparing for MMA. He's worked on his boxing a lot. And I saw him hit the mitts. He looks very sharp. He looks very good. We all know Tyron Woodley is an athlete. He's a champion. He's more of a formidable striker, a completely different striker than Ben Askren. So I would not sleep on Tyron Woodley. And, another thing is, you've seen Tyron Woodley up against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He has the ability to think in that ring, take his time, be patient, and wait to pick and choose his spots. That fight with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was, even though y'all might have thought it was boring, look, just on a strategic level, it was brilliant. Especially considering going up against a hell of a striker in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It was a brilliant performance, very Mayweather-esque in terms of MMA. So if he can bring that to this fight with Jake Paul, I think that will do wonders. Because what I would like to see is Tyron Woodley. Look, he might go in there and go straight for the knockout, and he might be able to get it. But if I were T Wood, I would drag Jake Paul in deep waters, because Jake Paul still, even though he's been boxing and I'm sure he's in good shape, he still hasn't been dragged to deep waters in a real boxing match. And if T Wood can move around, box off the back foot, pick and choose his spots, it'll be very interesting to see how Jake Paul adapts to that. Obviously, we've seen that Jake Paul does think in there. He does have some sort of strategy. He likes to go down the body. He'll shoot the jab down the body and, to set up that big overhand he has. But there's levels to this game, and there's levels to strategy. I would say Jake Paul, yeah, he has some strategic output. He's shown that. But there's different levels to that, man. And Tyron Woodley has shown in mixed martial arts in striking that he can think his way through a 5-round fight, right? What, a 5 minute 5 rounds? That's tough, man. And he can think his way through that and pick and choose his shots and kind of be very strategic in his approach. And I think that can go a long way with Jake Paul, because he's not going to have somebody who's completely clueless, with no movement, with no boxing technique or skill or understanding. They're not just going to jump in, or they're just not going to, be a sitting duck, right? Jumping in like Nate Robinson, or be a sitting duck like Ben Askren. Tyron Woodley's, he's going to be proficient. I think he's going to be all right in this fight. This is a very dangerous fight for Jake Paul. Do not sleep on Tyron Woodley just because he's 40 fucking years old and he's not at his height in terms of the UFC. I'm not buying into that narrative that Tyron Woodley can't win this fight or he's at a significant advantage. But like I said, until I see him do some sparring, until I see T Wood do some sparring, I can't come to a clear, definitive decision or an opinion about who's going to win this fight. You know, it's a different ball game. Tyron Woodley can throw hands, and it looks like he has some fairly good technique, and we've seen him in the UFC, we've seen him strike. He's not Ben Askren. He's a hell of an athlete. Obviously, being a hell of an athlete is not going to make you a good boxer, but it can, if you understand the principles and the fundamentals and the techniques of boxing, it goes a long way. It can help you pick up techniques quicker. It can help you be a better fighter. You know, it's like speed in turn. I played college football for UCF, right? Speed is great, but it means nothing. Like track speed is great, right? But just because you have track speed or speed in football doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate to the football field. Can you move laterally? Can you stop and go? You know, can you make cuts, change direction without it affecting your speed? You know, are you going to be intimidated about getting hit? So, you know, if you're intimidated about getting hit, you might not run with the same freedom that you would if you're running on a track. So Tyron Woodley has the athletic ability, and he has all the tools to win this fight, right? And pick up the skills necessary. But does he understand it? Will he be able to understand the fundamentals of boxing? And if he does, if he's smart enough to pick that up, his athletic ability will help him learn very quickly. Unlike, say, like Ben Askren, he looks like a freaking bag of milk, right? As they said on the fucking broadcast, he looks like a bag of milk, man. And coming off injuries, and he was never a striker to begin with, never really practiced it. Tyron Woodley is a different ball game, different animal. I favor Tyron Woodley. I know Vegas has, I think, Jake Paul. They're favoring him. I don't know why. Because this is a real striker and somebody who's fairly good with their hands, and I think he can pick up this sport within a few weeks to deal with Jake Paul. I'm not saying to deal with other professional boxers, but Jake Paul specifically. So I am favoring Tyron Woodley for now until some more footage comes out of him sparring. But look, man, this is a great fight for Jake Paul. I don't think he would take this fight if he wasn't confident he could win. Because obviously he ducked, in my opinion, Tommy Fury. And look, I don't blame him. I didn't think he should take on Tommy Fury. I thought that was a bad matchup for him at this point in time of his development. So if he's taking this fight against T Wood, they must be very confident that he can win. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. It's going to be fun to watch. Obviously, I'll always favor a pure boxer in a boxing match versus an MMA fighter. But this is a little bit different, man. Tyron Woodley's a different ball game, and he's a hell of an athlete. And he has trained some boxing as his MMA career has went on. But until another one, man, I can't wait to talk more about this, but I'm going to make another video about Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather, how Logan Paul can actually win this fight. But get at me. It's your boy HB with Final Round Drive Time Boxing. Let me know what you think under the comments, who you think is going to win. I would be very interested to hear y'all's opinions. Until another one, peace, man.